Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Monday, January the 31st. Now we do have an 8-game Monday slate to go over, and as always guys, we're going to talk through each one of these 8 games. We're going to go team by team. We're going to go through each game and talk about each team, kind of give my early thoughts, what I do like, taking a first look at the slate on Sunday night. And then as we do go through each game, we will build out an early core. We'll talk about 5 players that specifically stand out to me on both DraftKings and on Yahoo. But before we get started with the breakdown, please do hit the like button down below if you guys do enjoy all these first look videos. If you're new to the channel and you have not yet, be sure to click that subscribe button as well. We are on the road to 25,000 subscribers. And I appreciate all you guys that have subscribed to the channel. We do upload a ton of NBA content over here, usually get up videos Monday through Friday. I live stream as well on my channel Monday through Friday, an hour before lock. I'm live, talking through the slate, answering your guys' questions. You're always, able to tune into the live streams if you would like. And another thing, if you guys have not checked out the sponsor of the video, be sure to go check out PrizePicks. PrizePicks is a newer DFS site. It's very simple. You're just picking the over or the under on players' projections. So it's a little bit different than DraftKings and FanDuel and Yahoo. You're not necessarily building out a lineup or competing against other players. It's you versus the projections. So as you can see, they do already have some stuff posted for Monday's NBA games. They have point projections, rebounds, points, rebounds, assists. They have assists, obviously. They have three-pointers made. And you're picking just over or under. If you have a lean one way or the other, you can make up to 2, or you make 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money on PrizePicks. So if you guys do want to go sign up over there, if you want to check out PrizePicks, be sure to use code NOAH, and they will give you a 100% match on your first deposit. PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100 when you guys do sign up with my code. And if you always want to get my PrizePicks plays, I do give out some of my favorite picks on PrizePicks each day, along with the entries that I'm playing myself, that I'm putting my own money on. Those are all available on Patreon. You can check out the Patreon content. It's linked down below in the description. You can get access to all of my updated DFS content along with my PrizePicks plays. Those are all provided over on Patreon. But yeah, guys, let's take a look at Monday's NBA slate 8-gamer. We're going to go through these 8 games somewhat quickly. We'll start off with the first game, though, the Pelicans and the Cavs. So looking at the Pelicans today, a little bit of a tough team to break down right now because they are, going to have guys questionable, or they do have guys questionable right now. We're just going to have to watch the injury report here. Right now, Jonas Valanciunas, Brandon Ingram, and Josh Hart are all questionable. I know some of these guys have been sitting out recently. I think Ingram has sat out like the last 2 games. Pretty sure J-Val has missed, I think, last 2 games as well. So this is, it's a situation to watch. If J-Val plays at 8K, I kind of like this price point for J-Val. He obviously has the upside to pay out this price tag against the Cleveland front court that does play pretty big. They're going to need J-Val out there for big minutes if he's able to go. So I think J-Val's okay if he plays. I would definitely like J-Val a little bit more if Brandon Ingram were to get ruled out, because I think his usage would, go up a little bit. He just have more opportunity to score, more touches in general. So if Ingram sits and J-Val plays, I kind of like J-Val. If J-Val's out and Ingram plays, I think Ingram kind of looks appealing at 7,700. His price has come down a good amount from what it was. We were paying, almost 9K for Brandon Ingram. He's had some, pretty disappointing games lately, but now that he's 7,700, I think this is a much more reasonable price tag for Ingram. So, he's playable. Josh Hart would probably only be going there if Ingram were to sit, even if Hart plays. I don't think Hart would look that appealing at almost 7K. But then these other guys, so, obviously if J-Val is out, we can look to Willy Hernangomez. Hernangomez has been starting in place of J-Val the last 3 games. Last 3 games, he's played 30, 32, and 30 minutes, 46, 51, and 21 DraftKings points. It was really productive against Philly and Denver. Not as productive last game against Boston, but the minutes have been there for Hernangomez. He's played at least 30 minutes in the 3 games that he has started. I'd assume that if J-Val's out again, we see Hernangomez start and probably play around 30 to 32 minutes. At 5,600, the price tag's coming up a good amount, but I still think Hernangomez would be a pretty good play today if J-Val's out. I think if Ingram and Hart are out, and J-Val too, we could definitely look to Devontae Graham because I think his usage would go up. Now, he has not been great the last 2 games, but I think the upside for Devontae Graham without Hart on the floor, without Ingram on the floor, is definitely there. So, Devontae Graham would be playable in that scenario. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I had a little bit of interest in last slate with Ingram and Hart out, and he was not that great. Only played 22 minutes, only had 17 DK points. 5,200, the price tag on NAW doesn't look appealing. But if Ingram and Hart are out, he probably comes off the bench and plays high 20s, maybe close to 30 minutes. I want to say that I'm pretty sure Hart was out last game, or Hart actually played last game, but Ingram was out last game. I would feel better about NAW if Ingram and Hart are both out. With Ingram out last game, we didn't see Hart play, or we didn't see NAW play as much as he did before when Hart was out too. So I would probably want Ingram and Hart to both be out before I pay over 5K for NAW. Herb Jones, he's going to play big minutes regardless. I think his production would be a little bit better if Ingram and Ingram and Hart don't play. But regardless, the minutes are going to be there for him. He's been a starter and he's been playing big minutes on a nightly basis. He's not a super productive point per minute player. Normally when Herb Jones has good games, it's because he gets a lot of defensive stats. He's a really good defender. He can pick up a lot of steals, can get some blocks as well. Not an aggressive scorer by any means. He's not a guy that's going to really create his own shot. He's not going to take a ton of shots, but at 5,100, he's going to play 36, 38 minutes if it's a close game. And I think his upside is definitely higher if Ingram and Hart don't play. So there's just a lot of moving parts here. We're going to have to watch the injury report for the Pelicans. Right now, I think J-Val looks solid if he plays. I think Ingram is okay if he plays. If those guys get ruled out, then we can start to look to Hernan Gomez, to Devontae Graham, to Herb Jones. Those will be the guys to go to if those guys don't play. But now moving on to the Cleveland side, there isn't much I like from Cleveland. Cleveland, I think today looks appropriately priced. Darius Garland's over 9K. Darius Garland has been amazing lately, but at 9,100, you're kind of paying the max price for Garland. You're looking for over 50 DraftKings points from him at this salary, and does he have that upside? He absolutely does. Is he going to consistently put up 50 DK points? No. So I don't think Garland really stands out at 9,100. Mobley and Allen at 7,900 and 7,700, I think are okay. But again, the upside for them at these price tags, Mobley needs, close to 50 to pay off this price tag. And I mean, he's been consistent this year, but he hasn't shown massive upside. Doesn't have a ton of, 45, 50 point games. So I don't think Mobley looks that great. I think Allen is okay at 7,700. I probably would prefer Allen over Mobley if I had to pick one of those two. I think Allen, has the higher ceiling. We've seen Allen have some big games where he can get, 18, 20 points and can get a ton of rebounds. He's a guy that can block shots as well. So I think Allen at 7,700 looks solid. I will say that if J-Val sits and Hernan Gomez starts at center, that's definitely a better matchup for Jared Allen because Willie Hernan Gomez he's really never been a good defender. But I still don't think Jared Allen looks like a top play today by any means. I think you're just kind of looking at GPP sprinkles, guys you can kind of mix in. There's no standout plays for me coming from Cleveland. Cleveland doesn't look like a very appealing team today. So moving on to the next game, the Clippers and the Pacers. The Clippers, I mean, they're just one of the more frustrating teams right now. They've been running a super deep rotation. They've been playing 10, 11, sometimes 12 guys a night. They've been spreading out the minutes a lot as well. You haven't really been seeing heavy minutes for many guys. I don't really like many Clippers today. Last game against Charlotte, you did see Marcus Morris play 23 minutes in a blowout. He probably would have played more had the game been close. I think a lot of the starters, almost all the starters, did not really play in the fourth quarter. I know Reggie Jackson was on pace to play pretty good minutes, but obviously the blowout, kind of hurt him. I mean, probably at 5,300, Reggie Jackson's probably my favorite Clipper today. I think his upside at this price point, it's definitely there. We've seen the minutes for Reggie Jackson be so up and down lately, but he did look good in that game against Charlotte. Would have played more than 27 minutes had the game stayed close. If Reggie Jackson is playing well today, I think he will get over 30 minutes. And at 5,300, his upside at this price tag is there. He can put up 35, 40 DraftKings points pretty easily, especially with Paul George and Kawhi still out. So 5,300 Reggie Jackson, I think looks solid. I mean, Zubac going up against Sabonis, you would think they would probably have to play Zubac a good bit here. But even when you think they're going to play Zubac a lot, it's they don't. So Zubac's minutes have just been so inconsistent this season. He's a tough guy to trust. But when they did play the Pacers earlier this year, I mean, Zubac did play 25 minutes for what that's worth. At 4,500, if Zubac plays 25, 26 minutes, he could be okay. But I still don't think on an 8-game slate that he's going to really stand out as a top value play. That's probably it from the Clippers. Now, looking at the Pacers today, I think the Pacers are pretty straightforward. It's really just Sabonis and LeVert you're going to be looking to here. The secondary guys Duarte, Corey Craig, Justin Holiday, I'm not really going to be looking at these guys. I think Sabonis and LeVert are both in play. I think Sabonis looks pretty good as a pay-up option. I mean, ever since he's returned from injury, I mean, he really hasn't missed a beat. I mean, he's looked great. The 2 games he's played, 44 minutes against OKC in an overtime game, and then last game against Dallas was a blowout, and Sabonis did not play at all in the fourth quarter, but he still scored 54 DraftKings points in only 29 minutes, and only playing 3 quarters. without Miles Turner, without Malcolm Brogdon, like Sabonis should be really, really productive when he's on the court. He has triple-double upside. We know his rebounding numbers see a big spike without Miles Turner. His assist numbers see a big spike without Malcolm Brogdon. He just has the ball in his hands so much. He's one of the higher usage guys on this team. It seems like every possession for the Pacers lately, they bring the ball up the court and they just give it to Sabonis and then let Sabonis make plays. So, I mean, the upside for Sabonis is massive right now. Like, he could literally go for 25, 15, and 12. Like, he can put up, a massive triple-double any night. The Clippers have never really been a good team defensively against big men, so definitely think it's a good spot for Sabonis. I do like him quite a bit on this slate. 9,800 on DraftKings, $42 on Yahoo. I think, on both sites, you can definitely look to pay up for Sabonis today. For sure, one of my favorite pay-up options at first look. And then again, LeVert, 7,900, I think is a viable option. Now, LeVert has not been great the last 2 games ever since Sabonis has returned, but he's still been playing good minutes. Again, hasn't been productive. Usage hasn't been that great, but you look at some of these games. I mean, the freaking OKC game, he shot 3 for 19. Like, that's just god-awful shooting. Have to assume that LeVert's going to shoot better than 3 for 19 today. Again, like, he was on pace to play huge minutes last game. Had it been close, he played 27 minutes in only 3 quarters. So I think LeVert, at 7,900 looks pretty solid today if you do want to go there. Have no issues with him. And that's probably it for me from the Pacers. So next game, Memphis and Philly. Looking at Memphis today, Ja Morant, 10,100. High price point for Ja, but he's just been playing at such a high level lately that I still think Ja looks like a really good pay-up option today. If this game stays close, like, Ja's going to play 36, 38 minutes. They've really been, picking up the minutes for Ja. He's been playing into the high 30s in minutes. I think a lot of that has been due to Tyus Jones being out. Tyus Jones is questionable for today. He has a chance to return. Maybe Ja doesn't play like 38 minutes if Tyus Jones returns. Maybe he only plays like 33, 34. But he's just been so productive lately. His usage has been through the roof. He's been taking a ton of shots. I mean, you look at his field goal attempts these last few games, 27, 26, 31, 28. Like, he's just shooting the ball a ton right now. I think Ja at 10-1 is a very, very solid pay-up option. I like him quite a bit as well. Triple J and Desmond Bane as mid-range options I think are fine. Always, when it comes to Triple J, you worry about foul trouble, but if he can stay out of foul trouble, he always offers upside. Desmond Bane, really, really good shooter. Not going to do much else except shoot, but when he gets hot, like, he can always put up good games, and 6-1 is a pretty solid price tag for Desmond Bane, especially, right now with Dillon Brooks out. The usage for Desmond Bane's been up a little bit with Brooks off the floor, or it normally is, so I think Bane's fine. Do want to mention Steven Adams just because I think in this matchup going up against Joel Embiid, there's a good possibility that we do see Steven Adams maybe play more minutes than normal. Last game against Washington, he played 29 minutes. Some games this year, he's played like into the 30s in minutes. I think this could be a spot where we do see Steven Adams get like 30, 32 minutes. And he has been pretty solid on a point per minute basis this year when he's gotten minutes. He's been pretty productive when he's on the floor. So, like, I think Steven Adams is a pretty solid play today if you want to go there. Tough matchup against Embiid, but I will say Embiid defensively has not been as good lately. Like, he's been getting cooked by, like, Anthony Davis put up a huge game against Embiid. Willie Hernangomez put up a huge game against Embiid. He hasn't been as good defensively as of late. I think he's been doing so much on the offensive end that it's kind of hurt his defense. But Steven Adams, just for the minutes he should probably have to play here to match Embiid, I think it's a fine option. Don't see much value from Memphis. Kyle Anderson's going to return today. We'll have to pay attention to the starting lineup. Last game they started John Conchar. That was with Zaire Williams out. Now Zaire Williams is returning today along with Anderson. So, like, does Kyle Anderson start? Does John Conchar start? Does Zaire Williams start? We don't really know. I think if Conchar starts, he's an okay value at 4,300. I think if Anderson starts, he'd be an okay value at 4,800. But overall, I don't really see too much value coming from this Memphis team. So we can talk about Philly now. And looking at the Sixers, I mean, Embiid, 11,800. Like, right now, Embiid is, he's kind of reaching Jokic territory in terms of, any slate he's on, he is going to be one of the best pay-up options. He's just been so consistent. He's shown a massive ceiling as of late, been putting up, big games on a nightly basis. You look at the game log, at least 60 DraftKings points now in 5 out of his last 6 games. At least 62 DK points in 5 out of his last 6 games. In close games, he's been playing like 35, 36 minutes. Against Memphis, against Steven Adams, like, I don't think this is a spot where we should really worry about Embiid struggling. I think he should have plenty of success here. Embiid is obviously in play on the slate. He's definitely, one of the stronger pay-up options, I would say, if you can find a way to fit him in. Tobias Harris at 7.8, I think is okay. I thought Tobias Harris, when he was like priced in the low 7s, 7.1, 7.2, I thought he was a solid play then. Now at 7,800, getting close to that 8K price tag. Don't like Tobias Harris as much, but if it's a close game, he's going to play a ton of minutes. He's at least playable. Maxey at 6,600, I think, is priced to a point where he doesn't really stand out anymore, especially with Seth Curry back. Seth Curry at 5,300, I think is okay. Seth Curry in his first game back, really no limits for him. He played 32 minutes, had 22 DK points. Was not super productive, but Curry has shown some upside this year. He's been, somewhat productive on a point per minute basis, and we know Curry will play big minutes as well if it is a close game. We've seen Philly running a really tight rotation as of late, giving their main guys big minutes. Embiid, Harris, Maxey, Curry, Court Moss off the bench, Thibault. Like, these guys have been playing really, really good minutes. Now, Thibault last game only played 19. I think he was in foul trouble that game. Honestly, can't remember. I don't think Thibault's really a great play on this slate, but definitely think a guy like Seth Curry at 5,300, if he plays 35, 36 minutes, he's a pretty solid option at that price point. But that's really it for Philly. I think that's everything that I really want to talk about here. So next game, Miami and Boston. So Miami today, another team that is really tough to break down right now until we get news on Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is currently questionable. If Jimmy Butler plays, I think at 8,900, like, he looks like a pretty solid option on the slate. The matchup against Boston is not great. But Butler has just been so productive lately. I think not having Kyle Lowry out there has been really good for Jimmy Butler because he's been starting at point guard. He's been handling the ball a ton. His peripherals have been way up. He's been getting a lot of rebounds. His assists have been way up. At least 9 assists in 3 out of his last 4 games. Obviously, minutes are going to be massive for Jimmy Butler. If this game stays close, he's going to play like 38 minutes. So I think Jimmy Butler at 8,900 is firmly in play today if he's able to go. If he doesn't play, then we can look to Bam Adebayo. Then we can look to Tyler Hero. Both those guys, Bam and Hero, would be great plays today if Butler sits. Because obviously Lowry's out right now, so you would take Butler and Lowry off the floor. There would just be so much usage available for Bam, so much usage available for Hero. At their price tags, both Bam and Hero would be fantastic plays today if Jimmy Butler sits. If Jimmy plays, I think Bam and Hero are still okay, but they obviously wouldn't look nearly as good. The value from Miami, guys like Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, I don't think I'd really be going to these guys unless Jimmy sits. If Jimmy sits, then you can start to look to those value Miami guys. But if Jimmy plays, I wouldn't really be going there. Even if Jimmy is out, I still don't feel great about almost 5K Gabe Vincent, 4,600 Duncan Robinson. These guys still wouldn't stand out as great value plays by any means. But that's it for Miami. Now looking at Boston today. So Boston's pretty much fully healthy right now. There's not really too much that stands out from the Celtics to me. Jason Tatum in this matchup against Miami, probably going to see a lot of Jimmy Butler defense. I don't think Tatum's that good of a pay-up option today. Price tag is really high as well. I think he's just more of a contrarian dart throw. I think I'd rather pay up for guys like John Morant, Joel Embiid, Domantas Sabonis. I'd rather be going to those guys over Tatum. If I had to play anyone on Boston, it would probably be Jaylen Brown. I think given the savings from Tatum to Brown, almost $2,000 savings, probably would rather play Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown probably avoids Jimmy Butler defense. I think Jimmy will likely guard Tatum, which means maybe Gabe Vincent guards Jaylen Brown. I don't really know what they would do there on the defensive end. Maybe PJ Tucker guards him. But I think Jaylen Brown at 8,800 is a solid option. Still not a standout play. I don't think there's any standout plays from the Celtics today. But JB at 8,800 I think is okay. Robert Williams, though, is 7,200 in the tough matchup against Bam. I don't really like Robert Williams. Schroeder with Marcus Smart back, I really don't have any interest in. Marcus Smart, really never offers much upside. Al Horford's minutes have been way down lately. So it's really just JB as a tournament play. If you want to take a dart throw on Tatum, I think that's fine. But there's other pay-up options I do prefer today over Tatum. So we can move on to the next game, Toronto and Atlanta. So Toronto, man, God, when it comes to this Toronto team, where the minutes are going to go. They're 5 starters: Siakam, Van Vliet, OG, Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent. Those 5 guys are going to play 35, close to 40 minutes if this is a close game. So obviously these guys are in play. Now, do any of them stand out as priority options today? I don't think so. I think my favorite Toronto guy would probably be OG. I think 7,400 for OG, getting 35, close to 40 minutes from him. He can definitely give us 40 plus Draftkings points pretty easily and be good at his salary. Matchup against Atlanta is pretty favorable. I think all these Toronto guys are in play, the main starters at least, but I don't know if there's any one that stands out head and shoulders above the rest. I know Gary Trent has been playing really well as of late. We saw that stretch where Gary Trent was really, really struggling. His price tag was way down. But since he's come back really, especially the last 3 games, Gary Trent's looked great. He's been shooting the ball well, been playing big minutes, obviously. So I think Gary Trent, probably my second favorite Raptor behind OG. Then we'd probably go Van Vliet third, maybe Scotty Barnes fourth, Siakam fifth. The only issue with Siakam is just the price tag. He's almost 10K now, so obviously Siakam has shown massive upside. Now, last game, I don't know if we want to look too much in the last game because that game went to triple overtime. But, even in close games this year, like in regulation, Siakam's been playing like 40, 42 minutes. It's just 9,600. Like, you really need a good game from Siakam to be worth this price tag. I think I'd rather save salary, play guys like Van Vliet, OG, Scotty Barnes, Trent. Like, I think those are the guys I'd rather go to over Siakam. The bench guys I probably wouldn't be going to from Toronto. I think I'd really just be sticking to the starters just because right now the starters are playing so many minutes that it's just hard to consider anyone off the bench for Toronto with how many minutes these starters are playing. So we can move on to the other side of this game and talk about Atlanta. Now, Atlanta today, I don't see too much I really like here. Trae Young at 10K, I think you can kind of throw him into the same category as like Jason Tatum. Like, I don't think Trae's a standout pay-up option. Can Trae put up a massive game any night? He absolutely can. But is this the spot where I expect Trae to have a massive game? I don't think so. Like, obviously, Trae was in a really good matchup against the Lakers. Bad defense, fast-paced team, and obviously he did really well. But against Toronto, I don't think this is like the best spot for Trae. He's just more of a contrarian option for me. John Collins at 6'5", I think is okay. He's been playing pretty well lately, been getting good minutes too. Got into some foul trouble on Sunday's game against the Lakers, but was still really productive even in just 26 minutes. If this game is close, like John Collins should play over 30 minutes. His minutes have kind of been all over the place lately, but I think a lot of that's been due to foul trouble. Some of that's been due to blowout as well. I think if we get like 32, 34 minutes from John Collins, I mean, it's 6,500. Like, that looks okay. I think John Collins is fine. But Clint Capella's minutes have been way down, so he's tough to trust right now, even at 6,300. Bogdan, Hunter, Herter, when they're healthy, when they're all healthy, like, none of them really stand out, especially where they're priced at right now. So I think that's it for Atlanta. We can go ahead and move on to the next game, Sacramento and New York. So looking at Sacramento today, another team where, we got to watch the injury report. De'Aaron Fox currently questionable for the Kings. De'Aaron Fox, I believe, has been out for a while now. It's been like 3 or 4 games that he has missed. Without Fox, we've kind of seen Halliburton and Davion Mitchell be the two guys that really benefit. Halliburton coming off a massive game last game against the Sixers where he put up 59 Draftkings points in 40 minutes. Halliburton, the 2 games before that was terrible. 27 minutes against Boston in a massive blowout was terrible. Played big minutes against Atlanta, even in a blowout, but was terrible in that game. I still had interest in Halliburton last slate, even after 2 back-to-back really bad games. Just because, without De'Aaron Fox, his role is just so good. When Halliburton's the starting point guard without Fox, like, he just has the ball in his hands so much. His assist numbers are super, super high. He's obviously going to shoot when he's on the floor. He's been shooting pretty bad lately, but, looked good last game. The ball was going through the hoop, which you'd like to see. The price tag did go up to 8,500, but I still think Halliburton would be a pretty solid play today if De'Aaron Fox gets ruled out. If De'Aaron Fox plays, and I probably would be on Halliburton or Fox. I don't really like either one at their price tags. Davion Mitchell we can consider as a value play if Fox sits. Davion has started the last 2 games in place of Fox, has played 31 and 33 minutes, and has put up 32 and 29 Draftkings points. So not only have the minutes been good for Davion, but the production's also been good. He's still pretty cheap at 4,900. I definitely would like Davion for value if Fox does not play. And then I do want to talk about Chimezie Metu. So Metu, I'm expecting starts today in place of Marvin Bagley. Marvin Bagley has already been ruled out. Obviously, Marvin Bagley has been starting, for a while now. I'm expecting Metu to slide into the starting lineup. Now, is Metu guaranteed to play a lot of minutes? Absolutely not. Like, I think Metu could start and still play like 20 minutes, but you would have to think without Bagley, there's going to be more minutes available for Metu. Again, I am expecting him to slide in the starting lineup. He has shown some good upside this year when he's played well. Now, there's definitely been games this year where Metu has really struggled, but when he does play well, Alvin Gentry will give him like 30-plus minutes. We've seen some games this year where Metu has played big minutes when he's been productive. So, like, I think at 3,700, if Metu does start in place of Bagley, like, he's probably a good value play today. Even though I don't feel confident in the minutes. I don't feel great about the minutes. I still think the price tag, the really low price tag in the starting lineup, that's going to make Metu stand out as a pretty decent value play. We'll have to wait and see what other value opens up, but I definitely do like Metu as a cheap option if he does start for Bagley. But that's really it for the Kings. I think we can go ahead and talk about the Knicks now. So I don't know why, but the Knicks have already released their starting lineup. They released it like Sunday afternoon. Just why, I have no idea. It's obviously what we expect it to be: Randall, Barrett, Fournier, Robinson, Walker. The Knicks today, it's a good spot against Sacramento, but like, there's not a ton I love here. I think Julius Randle as a dart throw is okay. Julius Randle has just been god-awful as of late, but this is such a good matchup against Sacramento. Like, you would have to think Julius Randle's going to figure out something at some point. Like, eventually he's going to have a good game, and I think it could definitely come today against this, bad Kings defense. So as a low-owned tournament play, I do have interest in Julius Randle. RJ Barrett's role is really good right now. He's playing 35, close to 40 minutes in close games. He's taking a ton of shots. He's been contributing with peripherals as well. Again, Sacramento, really good matchup. So I think Randle and Barrett are both in play. But the rest of the Knicks, I'm not that excited about. Fournier, Robinson, Walker. Kemba's not been playing that well lately. His minutes have kind of been all over the place. He did play 30 minutes last game against Milwaukee, but when Kemba doesn't play well, you'll just see him play 20 minutes and just it's tough to trust many other Knicks outside of the main guys like Randle and Barrett, and really that's it. I don't really want to be playing any bench guys from the Knicks on a 8-game slate. So we can go ahead and move on to the next game, talk about Golden State and Houston. So Golden State today, still no Draymond. They are going to be without Otto Porter as well, so this is pretty important news. Otto Porter has already been ruled out, so Otto Porter obviously has been starting lately. I want to go ahead and talk about Jonathan Kuminga, because I'm guessing that with Otto Porter out, we will see Jonathan Kuminga slide back into the starting lineup. Kuminga was starting for a while, and then they decided to go with Otto Porter ahead of him. I'm guessing Kuminga will be back in there, and at 4K, I think Kuminga is going to be one of the better value plays today, assuming he does start. He's also minimum salary on Yahoo, so he's going to project out really well on Yahoo at minimum salary. Kuminga this year, when he's gotten minutes, he has been pretty productive. It's just that the minutes have kind of been all over the place for him. Some nights he'll play really well, and Steve Kerr will give him a lot of minutes. Some nights Steve Kerr plays him 15 minutes for no reason. It's just been a total guessing game when it comes to the rotations. Outside of the main guys like Curry and Wiggins and Poole and Klay Thompson, it's just between guys like Bjelica and Iguodala and Damian Lee and Kuminga, you just never know how many minutes these guys are going to play. But I would assume that with Otto Porter out, Kuminga is going to be the guy that gets kind of the first crack at things. And if Kuminga does play well, he will probably get over 30 minutes. The matchup against Houston is obviously fantastic. One thing I do want to say is that, obviously Golden State has there is some potential that Golden State blows out Houston today just because Houston's so bad. I would expect Kuminga to still play in a blowout. So far this year, in blowouts, he has still played. He's been on the floor. So Kuminga, I do feel pretty good about him. Even if this game gets ugly and Golden State blows them out, Kuminga will still be out there, even in a blowout. It's just that, Steve Kerr's rotations have been so wanky that, you never know who's going to get the minutes, especially when it's not the main guys. But I do feel good that Kuminga gets enough minutes to be worth the 4K price tag, which is going to make him stand out as a pretty good value play today. Curry and Wiggins and Thompson, I think are all fine. Steph at 11K is going to be pretty low owned if I had to guess. You guys know the deal when it comes to Steph. He can put up a huge game any night. This is obviously a really good matchup. Steph's not going to project nearly as well as other pay-up options, so he's always going to be low-owned. If you want to play him for low ownership and just hope this is the night that he goes off, I think it's totally fine. Wiggins has been playing really well lately. The price tag's starting to come up a little bit, but the matchup's really good. Wiggins, with how many minutes he's been getting, with how well he's been playing, I think it's still a fine play. Klay's minutes have been slowly creeping up. Last few games he's been getting into the mid-20s, up higher 20s in minutes, so 26, 27, and 27 minutes the last 3 games for Klay. Probably plays high 20s minutes today, so it's 6K. I don't think Klay's a great play at 6K, but 27, 28 minutes from him, he could definitely put up enough points to be worth the price tag. So still think he's at least viable. Poole, at 5,500 is okay, but with Wiggins and Poole and Klay healthy, I don't feel great about Jordan Poole. Looney at 4,900, never a guy that offers a ton of upside, so I don't feel really great about him either. And that's probably it from Golden State. Kuminga, if he starts, is probably my favorite play from the Warriors, and then you could obviously go to guys like Curry and Wiggins and Klay if you wanted to go there. But moving on to the Houston side now and looking at the Rockets. So pretty important news from Houston with Kevin Porter Jr. questionable. So Kevin Porter Jr. got placed in COVID protocols. He missed their last game. He's questionable as of today, or as of Sunday when I'm making this video. We saw last game with KPJ out. The biggest beneficiary is most likely going to be Jalen Green, and that's how it was last game. Jalen Green, 33 minutes from him and 32 Draftkings points. Was pretty productive, 17 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal. I would expect Jalen Green, starts at point guard once again. They've been starting him alongside KPJ at shooting guard, but I think, getting him at point guard, having the ball in his hands more, that should allow for Jalen Green to be more productive. So at 4,700, if Kevin Porter Jr. is out again, I do like Jalen Green a lot as a value option. We saw Garrison Matthews slide into the starting lineup, and he played big minutes, 36 minutes, was really productive. Now, Garrison Matthews is never a guy that I feel super good about just because he's a really, really scoring-dependent player. If he's not hitting shots, he's not really going to contribute anywhere else except for he's just going to shoot the ball. But when he does get hot, he can put up solid games. He's a pretty good shooter overall. This game should be played at a really fast pace. So far this year, Golden State and Houston have both been pretty fast-paced teams, so especially Houston. So I think Garrison Matthews, if KPJ sits and he starts again, like Matthews will be in play. Tate, Gordon both offer a little bit of upside if KPJ sits. I don't mind them either. Christian Wood, regardless, I think is an okay option. I don't feel great about Christian Wood on this slate specifically and in this matchup against Golden State, but if this game is close, Christian Wood should play like mid-high 30s minutes. I think his upside without KPJ would definitely be higher. I would probably prefer KPJ to sit, but even if he plays, I think Wood's okay. KPJ, if he plays at 6'3", I think looks pretty solid. Kind of like this price tag for him. Like the matchup against Golden State. Again, Golden State, really fast-paced team. I think KPJ did have a really good game against Golden State. They last played about a week ago. Really good game, 38 DraftKings points in 34 minutes. I think he'd be an okay option as well, but right now, it's just waiting for that news because, that's definitely going to change my thoughts on this Rockets team depending on if Kevin Porter Jr. plays or not. Obviously, we talked about the guys who would benefit if he were to get ruled out. But moving on to the last game of the night, Portland and OKC. So Portland today, they're still going to be without Damian Lillard, still without Larry Nance, Nasir Little as well. So, we kind of know where the minutes are going on this Portland team. Guys like Nurkic, CJ McCollum, Anthony Simons, Norman Powell, basically the 5 starters, Nurkic, McCollum, Simons, Powell, Covington. Those 5 guys are all going to play, over 30 minutes if this is a close game. Really, really good matchup for Nurkic against OKC. OKC been really bad defensively against bigs this year, especially guys like Nurkic that can just, have their way down low and in the paint. Obviously, Nurkic is a really big body. He's a guy that will always, fight for rebounds, can get a lot of putbacks. I think this is a great spot for Nurkic. I think he's a really good play today if you want to go there. His minutes have been way up lately, which is obviously good to see. I think CJ McCollum's upside is really high. Without Damian Lillard, we know CJ McCollum is going to have the ball in his hands a ton. His usage is going to be up. Anthony Simons has been playing really well lately, but again, I've been saying it. I still think this is like CJ McCollum's team whenever Dame's out. I think CJ McCollum is going to be the guy with most of the usage or getting most of the usage in this offense. He's going to have the ball in his hands a good amount, going to take a good amount of shots as well. The last few games, we've seen the field goal attempts really start to creep up for CJ McCollum, so I like CJ McCollum quite a bit at 7,600. I think he's a pretty good play on Yahoo as well if you want to go to him over there. Only $30 at the shooting guard position. Like CJ quite a bit. I think Anthony Simons is a fine play at 7K. If this game's close, like Anthony Simons is going to play 35, 36 minutes. He's only 7K. He still has the upside to pay off this price tag. Would rather get to McCollum, but I think Simons is fine. Norman Powell, he's going to play 35, 36 minutes if it's a close game. 6,400, I think he's probably priced to where he should be, but still think Norman Powell is fine. Covington, probably my least favorite of the Portland starters, just because Covington has never been a super high upside player. He really just kind of gets there on blocks and steals, rebounds. He's just gonna be out there to shoot threes and to play defense. He's never a guy that's gonna really create his own shot. He just kind of stands in the corner, and if he's open, he'll shoot the ball. He's actually a pretty good 3-point shooter, but he's a guy that normally at 5,600, he's not going to put up a score that you have to have. Rarely is Covington going to go out there and put up 40 DraftKings points. So I think at 5,600, Covington's a guy that I'm kind of fine fading. But the other 4 guys we talked about, I think, are all fine plays. McCollum probably my favorite. The rest of Portland, I'm not really interested in. So we can go ahead and talk about OKC now before we do end the video. So OKC, normally a team I don't really get too excited to look to and too excited to roster guys from. But today, without SGA and moving forward without SGA, you're going to have to look to some of these OKC guys, especially while the pricing is still pretty low. I think Josh Giddey at 7,300 is probably going to be the guy that benefits the most without SGA. I know in the past we have seen Giddey have some really big games with SGA out. Pretty sure his triple-double earlier this year, when he had his triple-double, I think that was with SGA out, if I do remember correctly. Honestly, can't remember. It was against Dallas on the 2nd. Let me see. I want to say SGA missed that game, but let me check. So yeah, that was... So basically, Josh Giddey, I know he had his best game of the season was with SGA out when he put up a triple-double against Dallas, 66 DraftKings points. This is the kind of upside that Giddey has. He can do everything. He can score. He can get rebounds. He can get assists. With SGA off the floor, there's going to be more usage available for Giddey. He's going to have the ball in his hands way more. 7,300 against Portland in a good matchup. I think this is just too cheap for Giddey. The price tag really didn't even adjust for SGA being out, so... Really, really like Giddey on the slate. I think he's one of the better plays overall. I think he's way too cheap on Yahoo as well. $25, like Josh Giddey, quite a bit over on Yahoo. I think Lou Dort's upside without SGA is definitely higher. Now, Lou Dort at 6K, not a guy to be super excited to roster, but I think, he's more likely to have a big game when SGA is off the floor than versus when he's playing with SGA. And obviously SGA got injured last game, and we saw Dort and Giddey both do really well. So I think Dort at 6K is still fine if you want to go there. And then the value from OKC, I'm not too excited about many value plays, but we're going to have to pay attention to the starting lineup. So obviously, without SGA, somebody's going to have to start in place of him. My best guess is it's either going to be Bazley, Trey Mann, or Ty Jerome. I think one of those three guys is most likely to start. I think they might just start Giddey at point guard and then slide everybody up. So they could go like Giddey, Dort, JRE, Bazley, and then I think Trey Mann's been starting lately. I honestly can't remember. So yeah, Trey Mann actually did start last game, so he'll start again most likely. But we'll have to wait and see who starts for SGA. It probably will be either, if I had to guess, it'll be either Bazley or Jerome. Ty Jerome has had some really good games this year in the past whenever SGA has been out. Now, if Ty Jerome comes off the bench, I would be a little bit hesitant just because he might just, at that point, he might just be like the backup point guard and just back up Giddey, and he might only play like 15 minutes. But if they start him with Giddey, I'd feel pretty good about Ty Jerome playing, mid to high 20s minutes, if not close to 30 minutes. And he has been productive when he's gotten minutes this year. We saw, when he did start those games in place of SGA, he played really well. 30 minutes. I know some of these games were without SGA. I know this game against Phoenix he started this game, played really well. So if Ty Jerome does start today at 3,300, I think he is going to be probably one of the better value plays overall. Really cheap on Yahoo as well. He's minimum salary over there. So if you want to play Ty Jerome on Yahoo, I think you could definitely play him over there too. Again, I'll be paying attention to starting lineups. Luckily, on this slate specifically, all our games today start from 7 to 8 Eastern. So lock is at 7 Eastern. Latest games are at 8 Eastern. So really, there's no West Coast games on Monday, which is honestly good for me as a guy that lives on the East Coast. So we won't really have to be staying up too late for starting lineups and stuff like that. We should have most of, if not all, the starting lineups for this slate, close to lock or a little bit after lock. So if Ty Jerome does start, I think at 3,300, he is going to be a pretty good value play. If they start Bazley, I think Bazley would look a little bit better. If they start Wiggins, I think Wiggins would be fine. But yeah, we're going to have to wait and see who winds up starting for OKC today. Regardless, I think guys like Giddey, Dort look really good with SJ out today. But that's it for this 8-game slate, guys. I hope you did enjoy the video. I appreciate you watching. If you did enjoy, please do hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button as well. Go check out the sponsor of the video, PrizePicks. If you have not yet, go sign up for PrizePicks. Use code NOAH when you do, and PrizePicks will give you a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my code. You can take a look at what PrizePicks has to offer. You can make some picks for Monday night's NBA games. PrizePicks does already have some props up for the Super Bowl, which is 2 weeks away. But if you want to get some props down for the Super Bowl, they've already got some of their early lines posted. You can take a look at those, go over or under. You can mix and match sports on PrizePicks. So a lot of fun over there. You can win a lot of money on PrizePicks. If you guys have not checked them out yet, go sign up and use code NOAH so that way you get your first deposit matched up to $100. You basically get your first deposit doubled up to $100. But that's it for this slate, guys. Appreciate you watching the video. I hope you did enjoy, and we will see you in the next one.